Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Breaking It Down. I am your coach for today, HVC Luke, and owner of Havoc Esports. I am an RLCS coach that currently coaches Prestige Esports, but I've also coached Hilltop Picnic and APAC North. But if you guys did not see our last video, Breaking It Down is a series that we're going to be doing where we record replays of a bunch of different Havoc players and compare them amidst each other to see what specific ranks need to do in order to get up to the next rank, the next level. The last one we did, we had S5 Cosmic, who's a supersonic legend, and we were comparing him versus some semi-pro to high-tier bubble teams and seeing what it takes to go from the top rank in the game into the actual professional scene. But today we're going to be taking it down a notch, just a little bit. We're going to be going to watch a Grand Champ 1. We currently have in front of us Tazaro, an executive board member and producer in Havoc Esports, and we're going to be looking at him today this is a Game 5 match in a series amidst the Havoc Main League. So if you guys actually don't know what our main league is, I highly suggest you check it out. Every Saturday at 6 p.m. PST at the Havoc Esports Twitch channel, Havoc Esports RL, you will be able to check out all of our best teams from Grand Champ 1 all the way to Supersonic Legend to see who is going to end up trying to take that $300 plus prize pool at the very end of the season. But without further ado, we're going to be getting into this. The team that Tazaro is going to be facing off against is RBG Claw. They are a solid team in Havoc Esports. They're Grand Champ 2 to Grand Champ 3 area in rank. Tazaro, as we said before, is Grand Champ 1. Minnie is around Grand Champ 1, Grand Champ 2, and then Benji is the only Supersonic Legend in the lobby. But without further ado, let's get into this game here amidst these players. The main things that I want to see here from Tazaro, especially since it's a tournament match, but something we always want to see from our players, is we want to see possession. Here we go, Tazaro into the air. Here we go, Grand Champ 1 already taking some great possession here. He wasn't able to get the 50, but he lost it back to his teammates, so that's really good here from Tazaro. And the next thing we're going to be seeing here is how he supports his teammates. So, of course, we see Minnie. He ends up landing behind Benji. Tazaro currently the last man back on the play, but now he's going to have a chance here to do something with this ball. Look at this, taking possession. Into there, he gets the 50-50 out to the right. Chance here for Minnie. Tazaro going to be waiting behind his teammates. His teammates barely not able to get the goal. It was a very close opportunity there for Taz's team, but they just weren't able to hit the shot. But here we go. Here's probably the first mistake here we can see from Tazaro. So we can see what leads him to being in this awkward position in the first place. We're going to have to go back just a little bit. So right here, now he realized he's last one back, so he fake challenges. But now he has to realize his teammates behind him. If we look behind, we can tell that Minnie should be rotating back through the mini pads, and Minnie should be back in time. So if we go back over here to the epic pen here, we can see that Minnie should be rotating back behind Taz here. So now that Taz has fake challenged and bought some time for Minnie to rotate, Taz should now be able to drive through and challenge this ball. Deluxe Drew most likely hit it over Taz, and then Minnie would come in for a free possession. However, instead of doing that, we see that Taz continues to rotate back. So as we can see here, he continues to rotate back, putting him in this awkward situation where he has 0 boost. And then instead of taking possession or even just letting the ball go off the wall, he decides to hit this. Now, there's a lot of situations here. Of course, we would rather had Taz just drive through, not hit the ball. But once you get into this situation, it's actually better for Taz to not hit the ball off the wall here, because the main thing that you want to focus at, especially at lower ranks, but all the way until you win a world championship, is you want to be able to take possession. As we can see here, Taz goes at the wall, which is not a bad idea, but since he hits the ball off the wall here with 0 boost, it ends up being a pass to the other team. All right, so that ends up leading to what is the first goal. And Minnie was actually in a good spot here, but it ended up just being just good enough of a shot here from Mexi that he wasn't able to get the save. So what should have Tazaro done here? What he should have done is after that hit, he should have taken possession, yes, but what he should have done is roll the ball at the wall, right? And then instead of hitting the ball off the wall, what he could have done is just not hit the ball at all. You see how far away Mexi is? Taz could have just fake challenge on the wall here, and instead of action, and here we go. What he could have done is just fake challenge on the wall here, and then the ball would, of course, run up and went down. And then look, now he can see in front of him. And even though he has 0 boost, he can take possession and eventually take a 50-50. So as we can see here, just a little bit of a rushed play here from Tazaro. As we do want to see this from Taz. He's been taking possession all game, but as you can see, he rushed his possession, and that ended up leading to a goal here. And of course, that doesn't mean his teammates didn't make made any mistakes or whatever. But we're currently looking just at one player. We're looking at one Grand Champ 1 in a GC2 to GC3 lobby. And this goes to show that a lot of players who make Grand Champ 1 or RC2, C3 area, they believe that they can hang out, they can do well in a higher level lobby, and that's not necessarily wrong, but there's a difference between being able to carry your own weight and being able to be a good teammate. Here we go. We can see this from Taz. He's trying to take possession. Really good here from Taz. He tries to get a good 50-50 here, and we've seen this a couple times from Taz where he's taking possession, but it's how he takes the 50-50 that we see a problem. Whenever you want to take a 50-50, one, you want to make sure you're goal side, but the second thing you want to keep in mind is you want to jump into the center of mass of the ball. So most people, when they get the 50-50, they get goal side, right? So they put their car in between the ball and the goal. But what they don't do is they don't put their ball in the middle of the ball here, or right in the middle. That's the best place to 50-50, because when you get too high above the ball, and the ball will get hit under you and could probably be pushed to the left or right. But when you're too far or under the ball, then the ball could also get pinched way over you, which will make it a lot harder for your teammates, which is why it's usually better to be in the middle of the ball or at least a little bit above, so that way you can always keep the ball rolling, so it's easier for your teammates to follow. And as we can see, Taz, he did manage to keep the ball close here. He managed to keep the ball close, and he tried to jump into the top part of the ball to force it low, which he did, but since he didn't jump into the middle of the ball, instead to the right of the ball, that means Deluxe Drew was able to easily push that ball past him, and that's why it ended up being a complete possession there for RBG Claw and Deluxe Drew's team. Here we go. Now we have to see how Taz rotates back. As you can see, he's rotating through the mini patch. It's something that's actually something you don't see a lot from lower ranked players, is players rotating through mini pads. But even though he's doing all these good things, right? He's taking possession. He's grabbing mini pads. It's something better something that SSLs don't really do, which is really good from Taz. But the one thing that we're noticing is his lack of extensions, like right here. So all Tazaro has to do here is just drive. So he has Benji who's going to rotate in behind him, right? So Taz, all he has to do is he has to grab this boost here. He just grabs his boost, and then all he has to do is drive through, right? Because the thing is about threes is you want to keep your rotation smooth and fluid, right? So what I'd want Taz to do here is I want him to drive through, look for a demo, and eventually rotate out to watch the midfield pass. But let's watch this play over again here from Taz. As we can see, he fake challenges again, right? And now he's just in the air. He's awkward, and he does manage to get back to this ball, but even though he managed to do something good with it, it's his rotation that we don't like. What I would have loved to see from Taz is him just drive through this ball. So we can go back in this play. So Taz will just grab this boost, just drive through. Maybe he can get a 50-50 here, but even if the ball gets over his head, it's okay. He drives through, he gets some demos, he can rotate mid here, and now that the ball's over here, look, as you can see, he would have still been able to get this cutoff, see? Except now the rotation is more fluid, he would have more boost, more momentum, he would have kept his positioning, and he could also see a lot more. Maybe he could even get a demo and he wouldn't have to go for this awkward ball at all. So there we go. That's something that we're noticing here from Taz a little bit, is he's afraid to extend past the ball. So couple things we need to make sure that we're doing here from Taz is take your time, take possession, which he's been doing, continue to grab mini pads, but instead of fake challenging, if you're not last man back, drive challenge. And a couple of you may not understand the definition of drive challenge or full challenge or fake challenge. So a drive challenge, so we're going to look here, everybody, at what would be a drive challenge, full challenge, and a fake challenge. So a fake challenge here is if a car, say there's a car here challenging the ball. A fake challenge means that you pretend that you're going to challenge this ball, but then you turn away at the last second so you don't fully commit. That way you stay in front of the ball, and that way if he hits it over you, you can shadow. Then the second type of challenge is you can be this car, right? And then you can just throw yourself at the ball. You can just try to get a hit, try to get a 50-50, try to get any type of car hit on the ball, right? But the main problem when you do that is you waste a lot of boost, and if you miss the ball, you will end up landing somewhere over here or here without a lot of boost, and you're going to have no momentum to try and rotate back to support your teammates, right? So that's why the last type of challenge is called a drive challenge, and it's just like it sounds. You literally just drive through the ball, and you're able to rotate out. The reason why this is good is because it's like a fake challenge, right? Where a fake challenge, it still looks like you're challenging, so they'll hit it over your car. But since you don't fully commit, since you don't fake challenge, you're able to keep the flow of the rotation, right? Because what happens when you fake challenge. You stop your teammates' rotation, right? So you're right here, and we have Mini right here. So if Mini tries to turn and support you, and you fake challenge, that means Mini's gonna have to stop moving, right? And that means Benji's gonna have to try and rotate behind him, and then he's gonna have to stop moving, right? So that's why fake challenges are bad. And then full challenges are bad because you throw yourself out of the play. So drive challenges, they essentially make it so you stay in the play, right? So here we go. So essentially drive challenges allow us to stay in the play because you drive through, right? So you can creep, so you look for demo and you see you re-rotate through, and look, we're already able to rotate back and grab mini pads on the way back to our net, right? But since we also made it look like we're challenging, he's going to still flick it over our head just like in a full challenge. So essentially drive challenging is the best of both worlds. The one thing we have to keep in mind here though is that when you're last man back, so when you're the first man back, you're the last one on defense, you have to fake challenge or full challenge. You want to mix it up. Because if you drive challenges when you're the last man back, what's going to happen? The ball's just going to hit over your head and it's going to go straight in the back of your net, right? Which means that you have to fake challenge either the buy time for your teammates, or you can catch the other team off guard by sometimes throwing in a full challenge. It's something that you do have to try and mix up, is mix up how you challenge when you're the last man back. But when you're the first or second man, you literally can just drive through and rotate back. That way you stay in rotation, you keep your positions, you keep the fluidity of the rotation, and your rotations will overall be a lot more simple. But here we go. Let's get back into this game. As we can see here, Taz, he will try and take possession here, which he actually managed to do really well here. He managed to get the ball past 2 players, and he sets up his teammate, but it looks like his teammate's double commit. Now Taz is low on boost. Let's see what he does here. He gets a solid hit. It's going to go bounce out mid. Let's see what Taz does here. There we go. You see he's watching the midfield pass. It's something that not a lot of Grand Champs actually do. So as you can see here, what are the 3 areas on defense that always need to be covered? The 3 areas are somebody challenging the ball, somebody covering the net and backboard, and then somebody covering the midfield pass and looking for demos. And that currently is being done by Tazaro here. He's watching the midfield pass in case it comes out here. He's able to look for demos, and then most importantly, once Mini leaves the back post and leaves net, he's able to rotate into net. That's the why on defense, so you always have to make sure those 3 areas are covered. But we've already talked a lot here in regards to this situation, so we're going to get back to the gameplay between Taz and his team here in this game 5 and see how they managed to come back and tie it versus how they ended up losing the game. So here we go. Benji up for this ball with the flip reset, tries to fake it under. And as you can see here, Mini ends up being all the way back. So this is why Taz cuts. Of course, in a normal rotation, Mini would be right here, ready to go for the ball, right? But since he sees his teammates back, Taz decides to fill in Mini's rotation here and will go for Mini. And then Mini will support Taz and Benji will end up rotating out. That way we can continue something known as a vertical stack rotation, which we'll be talking about vertical stack rotations in a tutorial video for high pro level gameplay in an upcoming video. But here we go. Taz, he ends up cutting, takes possession here. As you can see, Taz doing really well at taking possession. Here we go. He looking for the ceiling shot's going to bounce down. Finds, gets a poor touch, and Benji will get the goal. There we go. This is what we like to see. This is why you take possession. You take possession, you shoot, you make it awkward, or you lose a 50 to your teammate, and then your teammate just clangs it into the back of the net. Really solid stuff here from Taz's team. Here we go, Taz trying to take possession, goes up here into an air dribble. He takes it slow. Here we go. Now he's going to watch the midfield. What I don't like here is look how fast he rotates back. He manages to get back to a ball here, but his teammate still had the ball. What I would have preferred Taz do here is after he gets past this ball, the ball's going to get hit towards his net, right? But now he takes his time. Take your time, rotate down the middle, grab mini pads, watch the midfield pass, and then he could have maybe gone for a demo on Mexi, or he could have cut it off here and tried to take possession. Because if your teammates are already in net and challenging the ball, there's no reason to go back. That's why whenever you guys are on defense, you're playing with your team, you want to make sure 3 areas are covered. You want to make sure someone's challenging the ball. You want to make sure someone's covering the net slash backboard, which the best place to do that is, of course, sit on the back post. And you want to make sure somebody is covering the midfield, whether he be looking for demos, watching the midfield pass, or maybe the ball's really awkward off the backboard and he can cut it off and take possession himself. That's why you want to make sure those 3 areas are always covered. But as we can see here, Taz didn't cover the midfield. He actually just rotated all the way back, and look, the ball bounces out mid. And if Mexi placed a good shot top left, top right corner, that would have been a goal for RBG Claw. And Taz's team would have been down by 1 once again. Here we go, Taz driving up the field. He fakes it here. You see how Taz drive challenges here? But what I would have loved for him to do here is, I like that he left this ball, right? There's no point for him to go for it. Fine is just going to hit it to his teammate. But what Taz could have done is he could have driven through here, stolen the boost, looked for demos, and then rotated out, right? That way he would have maximized the usefulness of his rotation, because as you can see here, he kind of just rotated out. He didn't really do anything. You want to make sure you maximize your usefulness. You want to maximize your potential on a rotation. As we can see here from Tazaro, what we would have loved if he stole this boost, looked for a demo. He doesn't even need to go for the ball. Look for a demo on this goalie, and then when he was over here, this is an option for his teammates to do what's called a blind side pass, because we got the goalie on their team here, we got someone challenging here, and we got maybe somebody in the midfield looking at the ball this way. Where are all the ball cams on the other team facing? They're facing the ball, right? So that means if you rotate through looking for demos, and that's really a great way to be useful, steal boosts, and then you can be over here potentially for a midfield pass that they can't see coming. That's the best place to shoot on the field. But also, if your teammate's not able to pass, it's just as simple to rotate behind your teammates and go through the mini pads. Right, everybody? But here we go. Overall, still some salsa from Taz, but of course he's not maximizing his usefulness on the rotation. We've seen this a couple times here from Taz, where we want to make sure that he rotates through, drives through the ball, and maximize his usefulness on the rotation. So everybody, let's keep a count in our heads of what Taz needs to work on, maybe what you guys can take from this as well. We want to see that Taz continues to take possession. Even if he has 0 boost, keep the ball glued to his car. You don't want to give the ball to the other team for free, right? But then the next thing you have to make sure he does is when he's driving through the ball, you have to make sure he drive challenges, not fake challenges. The only time you fake challenge is when you're last man back. But sometimes you still throw in a full challenge because you have to make sure you're not readable. But then, when you're ever your first or second man on defense, because currently right now, Taz, he's now last man back, so you want to make sure he supports. But now Taz, he's second man, so he can drive challenge here. He actually didn't need to jump for this ball. All Taz has to do here is just sit on the ground, see if Mexi's going to challenge, and if Mexi hits this, Taz just has to sit on the ground under him, right? So we can go into fly cam. So we can go where Taz should have been. So you can let Mexi hit this to the backboard. And then if he misses, then Taz has a free ball, right? But if Mexi hits the ball, then his teammate behind him will be able to get the possession as Taz sees Benji's at field and will just rotate in behind him. Because that's all a rotation is filling in space. And as you can see here, Taz is throwing himself out a lot of balls. So there we go. That's 2 things that Taz has done. He's not taking possession as much as he could be, and he throws himself at some balls. But then the last thing we need to make sure from him is when he's in front of the ball right here. So he drive challenges, but look, he's going to rotate instantly back. Instead of rotating back instantly, he has to remember, he has 2 teammates already on defense. So what he can do is rotate through, look for demos, and then rotate through the mini pads, and eventually watch the midfield to cover one of the main 3 areas on the defensive end. But here we go. Supporting Mini here. Now he's going to grab his own big boost. Looks like Mini and Benji are double committing. Here we go. Now Tazzy's going to watch the midfield here. He has to make sure he tries to turn to face the ball as something happens. There we go. This is something that Taz did here really well. His teammate did dunk him, but look what Taz did here really well. You see how he was keeping his momentum? You see how he did this small circle? And then look at when he turns. He's touching it as Deluxe Drew is flipping. You see that? So right when that ball is finally hit, he's facing the ball with boost and momentum. This is something that you should do in order to keep speed. If you look at Team Queso, G2, SSG, look at how they rotate. Look at those players. Because when you look at them, they'll turn to face the ball as something is happening. So right when that ball's hit, Taz would have a free possession. Now, Taz ended up getting dunked by Benji, but overall, Taz did something really, really good there. And here we go, Taz watching the midfield since his teammate should be in net, but it looks like something bad happened. So this is one of those situations where Mini ended up not rotating back. As you can see, Mini didn't rotate back. He missed the big boost, and that ended up being the reason why it was a goal. This is something that is very hard for lower ranked players, especially Grand Champ 1s, to understand, is Taz might feel that this was his fault, right? Because the ball get hit across, but no, Taz actually did really well here. And do you guys remember why? It's because he was covering one of the 3 areas of the defense. Benji was covering the challenge, right? And Benji did his job. Benji got Finest to hit the ball to his teammate, right? But since Mini wasn't in net, That means the ball ended up going in the back of the net here, because what should have happened is Benji drove challenge. Taz watches the midfield here, grabbing mini boost looking for demos, and then Mini should have been here to block the shot, or when the ball get hit over Benji, he would have been there to take possession. So as you can see here, this was actually Mini's fault, not Taz's. So that's why we always have to make sure make sure you do your own rotations and do them properly. At the end of the day, it's only one goal. So Taz actually did a really good job here. But of course, everybody, when you're practicing in ranked, that's where it's going to get tricky because your teammates aren't that smart. So when you're solo queuing in ranked 2s, for example, since you shouldn't really play ranked 3s since it does form bad habits, but when you're playing ranked 2s, you always have to make sure you know where your teammate is so you can help them out whenever possible. Now, as you can see here, Taz is playing with his actual team, so Taz did nothing wrong. But if there's a solo queue, for example, he has to make sure that his teammate's in net before he does anything else. But here we go. Ball back over to Mini. Mini trying to maintain possession. Taz ends up looking for this ball. He's going to try and chip it, but Benji actually cuts him off. We see that Taz, he's Grand Champ 1, but his positioning is actually really, really good. But his teammates have cut him off multiple times here in this Game 5. Maybe it's the nerves between these two teams, because we've seen a lot of double commits. Look, Benji and Mini in the same spot again, where Taz, he's the lowest ranked player on his team, and it looks like he's the one who's having to do all the dirty work, do all the carry work, because his teammates aren't hitting the ball or taking it when it is their actual ball. But here we go. Ball back over to Deluxe Drew. Taz, look, he actually drives through here, but let's see, does he rotate mini pads? Here it's okay. So, of course, we always want to rotate mini pads. Look what Taz did here. He rotated mini pads first. This is a really good habit to get into, because what you can do if you grab the mini pads first is once you grab those two mini pads, you can now make a decision if you have enough time to grab the big boost or if you don't have enough time. If you don't have enough time, you can grab these mini pads, right? And now watch in the midfield covering the 3 areas of defense, right? But if he does have time, you can grab the two mini pads, grab the big boost, and now he has big boost, momentum, and then now can watch the midfield since he looked to see if he have enough time. It's okay to grab big boost, ladies and gentlemen, but make sure you grab mini pads first in case you have to make the decision to go for the ball right away. Here we go. Benji will get a beat on one. Taz is going to watch the midfield here just for a second. And now the ball's going to get hit across. And it's going to be a double commit there from Taz and Mini. And the reason why this happened is because Taz is technically the third man here, right? So he's watching the midfield, and Mini's supposed to support Benji here. But instead of rotating behind Mini, doing something called vertical stacking, where we end up having this line where Taz will rotate in behind, Taz ends up rotating mid here. So that means we have two players both waiting for a pass at the same time. So when that ball gets hit mid, that means both players are going to go for that ball. Which is why whenever we are rotating up the field, we want to make sure that we do something called vertical stacking, which we rotate in this line. So Benji, he can lose the 50 to his teammate to take the ball, or you can pass the ball out mid, and then the second man can then drive mid and take that ball, right? You don't need somebody sitting mid here, because what happens if let's say Finest is right here on the wall, what happens if Benji gets dunked? That means two people on your team are both getting beat, which is another reason why you don't want to do this. So right here, Taz, it's okay to stay mid here just for a second, but once he sees that Benji's not passing the ball, he has to rotate behind. That way Mini can support Benji in the best way possible. And it's something that you'll see a lot of teams do. If you look at a team like Team Queso, for example, they are really, really good at going behind their teammates to support them. Here we go. They end up double committing for this ball. Ball bounces out mid, but since no one's mid, no one's able to support. And then there we go. That's going to be over to Deluxe Drew. Deluxe Drew back over to Benji. The ball's going to get hit back over. It's going to be back now to Taz, looking for a 50-50, and it's going to be hit down to the ground. But ladies and gentlemen, overall, a lot of stuff that we learned today. Thank you to everybody who did show up. So remember, this is the Grand Champ 1 in a GC2, GC3 SSL lobby, and just goes to show how much he still has to improve on, even though he is a really smart player. Ladies and gentlemen, remember to keep these in mind. If you are a GC1 looking to improve, make sure you're supporting your teammates properly, facing the ball. Make sure you're taking possession at all times, even on 0 boost. And then lastly, make sure that whenever you're challenging the ball, drive through and then look for demos because you already have 2 teammates back. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm HVC Luke, owner and head coach here at Havoc Esports, and I hope you guys all have an amazing day. This is Luke with Breaking It Down, and I'll see you guys in the next video.